Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Sarah Prager. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.
Hello, 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 Sarah. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. I am doing fabulous. It's so great to have you here with us today. So good to
Thank
have a
you.
great chat with you. And how we
For
like starting
sure.
things off here is just having our guests introduce themselves to our audience and let them know a little bit about your background and experience. So I'll hand the
Sure.
floor to you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Sarah Prager. I use she, her pronouns, and I live in Massachusetts with my wife and our two kids and three cats. I'm a writer, and my third book just came out on August 7th. Sorry, August 2nd. My birthday's August 7th. I just had that too. I write about LGBTQ plus history, which is something that I just love and have been drawn to ever since I came out at 14.
Oh,
And
wow.
I love sharing our community's stories with people of all ages. My first book was for teens, my second book was for middle schoolers, and this third book is for elementary school and preschool
Ah,
children. So
I love that.
yeah, and then in between, I just write a few hundred articles a year as well, and keep myself busy with talking about queer culture, queer history, queer travel, and queer health, and
Yes.
everything in between.
Ah, lovely, lovely. Well, we are so excited to have you here with us, Sarah. And also, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Happy
had a lot of
belated
fun.
birthday. And I must say, thank you for the work that you are putting into these books, preserving and expounding upon LGBTQ plus history. As you said, you came out at 14. And so for many people out there, especially non-queer people, they always say things like, oh, this person is too young to know that they're queer, or they don't understand this, and all of that. And so it is great that someone like you is here that is preserving the history, and not just preserving it, but writing, specifically for queer youth. Talk to me about how important or groundbreaking or influential it would have been for you as a queer youth if you had, books like the ones that you write now.
If I had been able to have I mean, so much has changed in 20 years. Um, as I think we all know. I mean, having just Ellen DeGeneres to
Mhm.
having dozens of um, celebrities that we can look to of all different identities is just a world of difference. And for the world to have safer, or our country to have our environment have changed, even just with our laws and things, for people to feel safer coming out so that we know more queer people in person. I wasn't seeing like same-sex couples married with kids because same-sex couples couldn't be married. It was harder to have kids. Like, I didn't think I could get married and have kids. So we have possibility models now, as Laverne Cox calls them. And uh, that's kind of what I hope my books can do, is for
Mhm.
kids to see what is possible, because these people from the past are um, artists and inventors and leaders and rulers and conquerors, and they have given us the high five and the computer and x-ray and airplanes. And you know people need to know that, whether they are queer or not, that queer people are amazing and have shaped the world as we know it. And you were saying one thing we hear is that young children don't know that young, or they're too young to hear about these things. And my 5-year-old that I who says Kind Like Marsha, my new book, is her favorite book.
Aw.
uh she does not show any signs of being trans or queer at this age for now. But she loves these stories and is not confused at all about how these people are part of the rainbow family, as we call them. And she's not confused at all that she has two moms. It's not a weird concept when it's introduced to children from the time that they're young. And, you know, her friends can know that this friend has two moms. Just, it's another different family, just like, of course, we teach about families with step parents, families with adoption, families with single parents. Like, I think it's just a responsible thing to do, to teach about diversity. And, you know, in terms of trans children, children of all genders, trans or not, usually know their gender identity by about preschool. And, you know, sometimes that's suppressed and you figure it out later, but the American Academy of Pediatrics and others, it's a normal developmental stage to start to know your gender at a very young age. It is not the same with sexuality as figuring it out in puberty. And so books for trans kids at a very young age is a really important thing to have.
Yes, certainly so. And as you said, you have 3 books specifically, you know, aimed at queer youth and with different age ranges and stuff. And let's talk about Queer There and Everywhere.
Sure.
And the 23 people who changed the world. I love this. I love the cover. And I also want to talk a little bit about the illustrations that you have there, because it's very eye-grabbing. It kind of pulls you in. And it's just so great. So talk to me about getting this first book together and what that process was like, and how, you know, that influenced the other 2 afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, getting my first book deal was a life-changing experience for sure. So this is the least illustrated of the 3, since it is the most text heavy, and it's a young adult book, so it's for teens and adults. Adults who read it will appreciate the teen voice. So instead of being and teens who read it will like that it's not really a for school book, it's a for fun book. And when you read it, it says stuff like Frida Kahlo was totally hooking up with this person and had a major crush, and, you know, talks about things like that. And when you read about figures like Abraham Lincoln, who is one of the 23 people, you are not getting a dry biography of his political accomplishments. You are looking at the side of his dating history, his sexuality, and the sides of these people that you never really heard before. And so for the illustrations, you, at the beginning of each person, that it's a standalone short biography chapter for each person. You can skim them and read whoever you'd like out of order if you'd like, but they do each start with a bust illustration and then goes into just, I mean, 7 pages per person or so. It's very browsable, and you know, some people read it in a weekend kind of thing. And the stories are, yeah, they are focused on things that teens would be most interested in, like the dating life, and but also it's all totally real. It's nonfiction. It's all based in fact. It all is fact, not just based in fact. If there are direct quotes, if there are moments and anecdotes, it all is backed up with sources. And I think that makes the stories that much more exciting.
Of course, certainly. And it's so great to be able to see these figures in a true light, because for many, especially when you read about many of these figures and the accomplishments that they have done, you know, in the world and how they've kind of moved our culture forward, it is ignored. Their queerness is ignored. Their queerness is overlooked. And so to be able to have that be the focus and look on that and be able to do that, it is just so edifying to be able to do that. And you follow it up with Rainbow Revolutionaries, 50 LGBTQ plus people who made history.
Yeah, and you know, some people would say, why does it matter who you know, someone who made great accomplishments was sleeping with or something like that? Like, why is that relevant? Why do we have to teach someone's sexual orientation alongside why their contribution to history is what matters? And I think it does matter for a few reasons, because teaching the whole person gets the student engaged. Yes. I can definitely say when a teen is learning about somebody's dating life, regardless of the person's orientation, or just how they struggled with self-esteem as a teen, or mental health, or all of those things, they realize I can grow up to achieve these great things because they are just a human and not this great figure with this big name. And I always use the person's first name. It's Abraham. It's not President Lincoln, you know, because these are just people. Anyone can grow up to be these people. And it is also important for representation. We need queer people and non-queer people need to know that these are queer people who accomplish these things. But yes, Rainbow Revolutionaries is much more heavily illustrated. It's 50 people instead of 23, and each person gets one spread like this, where it's a full page color illustration and a one-page biography. Also just as skimmable, skip around whoever you'd like, read them one at a time. And both of these also have, you know, a timeline, a glossary, lots of bonus stuff in the beginning and the end like that.
Certainly. And one of the things it does provide as well for readers, you know, when you're learning about straight people who have done stuff in history, and they talk about their wife and they talk about their children and they talk about, you know, their husband, whatever it may be. And that's an important thing. The thing is with queer people, their queerness is many times deliberately overlooked, you know, and so being able to put that back into the conversation so that one can see that, oh, if they're queer, if they've noticed that they're queer and they think that, oh, this may be something that might stop me from achieving my goals, that might stop me from putting my best foot forward, they can see these people as their representation to say, you know, just like this person did it, I will be able to do it. I will be able to achieve. I will be able to go that way. You know, one can look at Marsha and say, I can be, you know, just like Marsha.
Yeah, that's right. And you're exactly right, because it's the same level of teaching sexuality as it is as saying George Washington was married to Martha Washington.
Exactly.
That's not forcing sexuality onto children. And the thing is, without same-sex marriage, you would just be saying this James Buchanan never married. So it's only fair.
It is.
So Kind Like Marsha is the brand new book. It's just 1 week old. Although it's been waiting, ready to come out for like a year. And this book takes a different approach than just straight up biographies like the others, because kids don't want to sit through just a biography. So I chose to approach this with choosing a positive attribute of each person and saying, you can be kind like Marsha P. Johnson, and then a 2-sentence biography and a quote from her. You can be creative like Leonardo da Vinci. You can be determined like Sylvia Rivera. You can be artistic like Frida Kahlo. You can be daring like this aviation pioneer who flew a first airplane before the Wright brothers. You can be inventive like Alan L. Hart, who was a trans man in the US who helped to flatten the curve of tuberculosis 100 years ago. And then it ends with, you can be like all these people by being you, with all their words and all of them together. And yeah.
I this is so important for young people to have. Give me your perspective on, you know, some other things going on now in our society, in our culture when it comes to one. You know, there are a lot of people who are trying to come out against, you know, drag queen story time at libraries.
Yeah.
That's happened, you know, in the Maryland DC area, as well as even just recently in Michigan, the board, you know, vote the city, the people voted to defund the library because
Yeah,
of
I saw that.
LGBTQ literature and LGBTQ books. Give me your perspective on that.
So Queer There and Everywhere was one of the books on the list in Michigan, actually. Um,
Wow.
I have over the last year, the environment has become terrifying. As somebody who studies history, you know, they start coming for the books. It's not good.
Mhm.
And both Queer There and Everywhere and Rainbow Revolutionaries have been banned and restricted and challenged in multiple states over the last year, and that never happened. They came out in 2017 and 2020. It wasn't until 2021 that I started seeing multiple bans on all of them,
Mhm.
on both of them, everywhere. I get them. The last time I saw an alert was last week, another pulled out of circulation in a Mississippi library. And it's awful. For them to be pulled from public libraries, public schools, and it's over parents' rights sometimes, as if I'm not a parent who has
Mhm.
rights for my kids to have access, or as if the kids don't have a right to walk into a public library and look up information that they can't access in their unsupportive home, read it at the library, and then go home, because they can't buy it and they can't be taught it at school and they can't ask their parents for the book. The public library is the place where they can access this. And for it to be taken out of circulation and their choice be taken away, that it's something that they want to learn, is unfair. And there are organizations working on this that are worth supporting. Lambda Literary, Pen America, are a couple that come to mind that need support to continue to work against this environment. Seeing that they've started this year to come after drag queen story hours is the children
Mhm.
with physical threats. It's you know, I had a drag queen story hour for Like Marsha's launch this weekend in Boston. There had just been the weekend before protesters at a drag queen story hour in Boston in a really queer friendly neighborhood. And, you know, I've heard about this happening in San Francisco and everything too. These bans might be happening in places like Mississippi. They're also being challenged in Massachusetts and
Yep.
everywhere. You just need one parent to make a complaint, you
It
know?
happened right in Silver Spring, Maryland, right here on the DC border.
Yeah, I know. And I know what that's like. I used to live in College Park. So that's
Mhm.
not you just need one parent, and it's becoming a cultural phenomenon that this is what's being encouraged to happen. And at the event that I had to launch Like Marsha this weekend, there were security precautions, nothing I've needed to have before, where the door was locked and every person needed to have it unlocked to be able to enter. And the bookstore owner, you know, was like monitoring chatter ahead of time. I hadn't even thought of that. The bookstore owner has been doing drag queen story hours and put these things in place for every event like this. And yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it, it's terrible. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it is, it's not okay. And we need to work against it and continue to have these books and continue to have these story times. We cannot back down. Publishers are still buying these books. Readers are still buying these books. We have to make sure that libraries keep buying these books, because right now they're starting to be scared that they will get protesters if they do.
Yeah.
And so we need to buy the books, not only for ourselves, but donate them to the library, and keep going above and beyond like that. Make the donation of the book to your public library in case they're scared to buy it themselves. Because sometimes the issue is that the town doesn't want their budget going towards paying for the book.
Yep.
So buy it yourself.
Certainly.
And authors we need you to support buying these books.
Yes, honestly.
Yeah.
So speaking of buying those books, how can people buy your books? Where can they find these wonderful, fabulous books?
So all three of these are available wherever books are sold. You can get them through your local independent bookstore, which I would love for you to support. You can get them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of those places. And if you go to sarahprager.com, you can find all of the links to buy for each of them under the books tab. Bookshop.org is another great place where you can use it just like Amazon to look for your books, but it will support local bookstores instead of Amazon when you buy.
Awesome. And how can people follow you and keep up with you and, everything that you got going on?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the links to those you can find at sarahprager.com, SARAHPRAGER. It's Sarah Prager Books on Instagram and Sarah_Prager on Twitter. And yeah, I've got an email sign up on my website as well.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have that website link in the description below so that our viewers can go ahead and check that out. Sarah,
and I'll also add one more thing that I almost forgot because it's not a book, but I also have a page-a-day calendar of queer trivia that's on sale now. It's 2023 calendar, so starts January 1st, but it's on sale now and will ship in November. It's called Pride, and you can also find it on my website and buy it at all of those places. And it's full of queer history trivia, but also queer pop culture trivia.
Oh, lovely. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you so much for the important work you do in archiving and, expounding and expanding upon LGBTQ history and, getting the youth to learn about who's come before them and how they can put themselves forward in the future. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for amplifying it. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. To our viewers, you can go ahead and follow Team Racine Productions at Team Racine and click around our YouTube channel to check out other interviews, vlogs, forums, and more. And while you're at it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.